Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Welcome back, everyone, to Enlighten Up. Of course, we are here for our full moon broadcast with none other than the beautiful Mary Dusina, because we have a heck of a full moon in Libra. And as you can see in the title of this podcast, we are talking about Venus on trial. But we've got good news following this full moon. It's going to be a little bit of a doozy. And as I was saying with Mary earlier, I have already felt the repercussions of this moon because as a Cancer ascendant, like Mary, we feel these moons quite early, much earlier than I think just your regular other signs. Cancers, we feel it all, right, Mary?
Absolutely, because the sun lights up the day, hi audience, and the moon lights up the night. And when you look at whatever particular of the 12 zodiac signs is in your strong point, your sun sign is in a zodiac sign, your moon sign at birth is in a particular zodiac sign. And like she said, the rising sign, anytime you have a sun rising sign, especially, or moon, the moon rules Cancer, anytime you've got something triggering by planetary travel, which is called a transit, when you have something that's beginning to illuminate or pulse that in an electromagnetic way with frequency healing, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So those of us that were born with a lunar, nocturnal, many phases of the moon compared to the consistency of the sun, then what you have is stronger intuitive, below the surface, underneath the surface, dynamics that aren't always spoken about or revealed to you, the one that has the strong Cancer placement. So when a full moon comes up to challenge the cardinal sign of Cancer or Aries or Libra or Capricorn, Cancer risings automatically get triggered at full moons. They benefit stronger from new moon. So the new moon is the initiation point of like, okay, now what am I going to journal? What am I going to self-improve? And each one of them have a different little spice or flavor of the zodiac sign. So to Nicole's point, when there is, not only does every full moon trigger and emphasize itself, especially emotionally in the moods and the feelings for anyone that's a sun in Cancer, moon in Cancer, Cancer rising sign, to her the other layer of her point, this moon is in Libra and it's a cardinal sign like Cancer. So we've got the two feminine or magnetic cardinal signs of Cancer Capricorn, and we've got the two yang electrical zodiac energies of Aries Libra. So there's a lot engaged with that right now as we come into the blooming of this in our northern hemisphere, the bloom of spring and the dynamic of me and thee.
Yes. And I wanted to say, because we are dealing with a full moon in Libra, which means we're dealing with the me and the we axis. And what the full moon is illuminating is, for many of us, our relationships, our contracts, peace, harmony, things of this nature. And not just romantic relationships, and very important one-to-one relationships, your close relationships, your allies. And there's this theory, Mary, I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's this theory when it comes to relationships called the April theory. Have you heard it?
I haven't, not yet. I don't think so.
Okay, so basically, it's this theory that a lot of relationships end in April, and it's based off this idea that, because summer's coming and it's springtime, and so everyone just wants to kind of maybe be free. But I don't really think that's necessarily it. I think the April theory is based on the full moon in Libra, because usually it happens very close to April or in April. And it's really letting you know it's a culmination, it's an ending point for some relationships. It's the ones that don't make it are gonna break. And so I think that's where this April theory kind of really plays in, is that relationships are ending prior to summer because the astrology is saying, hey, you need to look at something here in your relationships. And are they going to evolve and grow and move on? Or are they stagnant and maybe it's time to step away? So there is this April theory when it comes to relationships. And I really do believe it's tied into the full moon in Libra that happens every April or late March.
Well, astrology and psychology are great twins. I mean, they're soft sciences. And then we take astrology and the celestial turning, or the great turning of the wheel in the heavens above us, ties in with the seasons of Gaia, our Mother Nature. So when the astrological new year begins, is when the sun moves into the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, and that's the last part of March and encompasses the most part of the month you're talking about, April. A lot of people usually guess someone's an Aries if they say their birthday's in April. I mean, Taurus is at the very end of the month. So then if you have the sun in Aries like we do now, and then the full moon has to be in the sign of Libra. And so where Aries is, I am that I am, Libra is more into us. It's more into what do I bring to the table? Is it equitable? Are we an injustice to each other? Because our relationships are mirrors. And Nicole said, yes, our intimate relationships, our person, our dynamic that we take into the most private, intimate part of our lives. But the other aspect of it is all of these regular relationships that are painting a portrait psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, at soul level, because we get caught up in the human thing here and the ego thing here. We're souls moving through time. We're souls dancing with experiences. We're souls that are experiencing pluses and minuses in this dimension of where we're at. And so when she was talking about summer, Aries begins spring in the northern hemisphere. Cancer at the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere opens up summer. And then Libra, in the great turning of the wheel annually, opens up autumn, or the fall season, and Capricorn opens up Yuletide, winter solstice. And of course, it's exactly the opposite in the southern hemisphere. So if you're listening to this in the summer hemisphere, Aries for you opens up
winter,
autumn.
Or yes.
So that's okay. So what's happening is trees become very important to people in spring, the blooming, the leaves coming out, the flowers, and in autumn, the fire colors. So when we get to this axis, this polarity of Aries and Libra, it is technically in both hemispheres. It's just the order is different. The seasonal dance is different. Aries has to do with the springing forth, the beginning of a dynamic season. And most people I talk to that live in a four-season type of geographical location will talk a lot about, I love the colors of autumn, and oh my God, spring's finally here. So the two seasons that can tend to be a little extreme with temperatures and weather anomalies once the transition of spring has happened or autumn has happened is winter and summer are signs of Cancer, Capricorn. So right now, different. Let me backtrack to the last podcast that Nicole and I did, because when we look at the overview, the overarching view of 2025, the eclipse months are March and September. So when Nicole and I were delineating this last month, we were talking about the impact of dual eclipses. We had a partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, Pisces, opposite sign, balance sign. Those two signs have to do with got to feel it, got to heal it, got to know it. So Pisces is the intuitive and the spiritual and And even if you just sit with the word soul for a few minutes sometimes, you want to do an open-eyed meditation, just sit with what the word soul opens up for you a lot. Our connection spiritually, what we wonder what our life is all about and our purpose and what our heart and our mind fire up together with. So the religiosity, the spiritual choices we make, soul level it's an internal landscape. And so we had the Virgo, which attend to the details. How is your anxiety, your stress, your procrastination? Back when we had that mid-March full moon in Virgo, Sun opposite in Pisces, it was like, what's driving you? Is it your nervousness? Is it your OCD? Is it your ADHD? Is it your stress and your anxiety? And how might that be affecting your health? So the last month full moon was talking to us about health and wellness. And if that's going to be medicinal, allopathic, prescriptions, doctors, or if it's going to be holistic and you're going into other realms of natural healing, hopefully blended, for the best outcome. So then we had the last new moon, which was the seeds of Aries to this full moon right here. So then we had the March 27th new moon. And then this is the first 2 weeks since we've had Neptune move into the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, and that only happens every 165 some years. So at the new moon, the seeds of Aries were ignited. So let's just say, because it'll be easier for me because I'm in the northern hemisphere in eastern Tennessee. So the seeds of spring and springing forth, and if you look at it in an archetype, it's more to do with the initiation, where Libra can be the graduation. Aries would be more the initiation. This is what I will commence to do. This is my bravery and my courage and my fire of desire. Aries is always about, first and foremost, stop avoiding it. How are you really doing with you? What's going on with you? Aries is, and so when we had that March 27th new moon, the super moon, and we had like a kind of like a little bit of a clogged drain of a bunch of planets getting to the late degrees of Pisces, which Neptune rules, and Neptune changed signs there. And then we also had the Aries factor coming in. The other layers were coming out of the retrogrades. We've come out of the retrograde of Mercury on April 7th. Literally within an hour of this full moon, Venus goes direct. Venus is the ruling layers. Venus is the governing planet of this full moon because it's in Libra. When you look at the constellation of Libra and you look at the three decans of the symbols in that constellation of Libra, first you have the scales. The second decan is the CRUX, or the cross, symbolic of the cross, and where we have to deal with our five senses. And then this full moon at 23, 24 degrees of Leo is in the third decan, which is interesting, Nicole. It's lupus. It's in Latin, the wolf. And everybody's talking about these dire, these white dire wolves that have just been biogenetically, haven't been around for, I think, 10,000 years. And they have these videos out there, these little baby wolves howling. And at first you think, how cute. And then you think, so odd. Wait, I got to process that a little bit. Oh, wow. We've brought back a species, and it just happens to be a type of wolf. And I think they named them like mythological names too, like Romeus and something like that, like star names and constellation names. And they showed two of them. And I thought how interesting. We talked about Pluto and Aquarius, Jupiter and Gemini. Pluto was the first big, slow-moving celestial giant, even though it's a small planet. Pluto went into Aquarius, and that's exposing truths, and it's breaking up divisiveness. Ultimately, there'll be very, very powerful, strong opinions on either side of things. Has been since the late January part of this year when we had the Aquarius sun, Mars popping into Leo. And what we have now is Mars is going to come out of retrograde, I think, like April 18th. But even at this full moon, Mars and Mars and Neptune are at a bit of they're having a conversation with each other, and then Mars and Pluto are in an opposition to each other. So we've got, besides this full moon in Libra and the Aries energy saying, how are you doing with yourself, and what are you doing in your significant other relationships? What are you letting go of in a relationship, and will you admit and see that the relationship for any of us, regardless of our sign, is where we have an ability to have a mirror come into our life. And if we get triggered, it's within us. If we haven't dealt with our anger issues from our childhood theater, then that person's going to know just how to trigger us, or we're going to be angry with them. We're going to repeat the loop or the pattern until we understand intuitively our emotional intelligence. Intelligence just isn't the mind.
Yes, yes. And so for everyone who is listening, this full moon in Libra is absolutely highlighting the me and we axis. So Aries, obviously that's where the sun is. It is next to Chiron. It's with Chiron at the moment opposing the moon in Libra. So, there's definitely wounding that's coming up here. But of course, the sun and Chiron are in Mars's home, and Mars is squaring this full moon. And so, of course, Mars being at the late degrees of Cancer, I, for one, cannot wait for Mars to get the hell out of Cancer.
Right. Yeah. It's not happy there. It's not happy there.
No, but Mary, I'm done with like cutting myself and injuring myself and like all the things, because, Mars is all that kind of cutting energy. I burned myself, all minor stuff, but it's just been incessant. And so Mars can just move on to Leo already, as far as I'm concerned. But it's going to be, this full moon is triggering. And for all of you out there, drop in the comments if you're listening right now or in the live chat, and in the comments later if you hear this broadcast later, if you've already been feeling the effects in your relationships, because Mars is the planet of war and conflict and anger, resentment, or action, right? It wants to get things moving. It wants to get things going, but it's squaring the moon and sun and Chiron. So it's really kind of triggering. There's some kind of wound within yourself, within your own identity that's being triggered, and it's surfacing up in your relation. It's being highlighted within your relationships. Some of you are going to find that you're in relationships that cannot withstand this fire, so to speak. And that means that it's coming up for a reason. It's trying to grab your attention. It wants you to look at things, look at yourself, look at your partner, or the very important people in your life that this might be coming up for, and really ask hard questions, because this is where we're looking at a mirror, right? Like Mary said, our relationships are mirroring ourselves. So this is where the mirror is cracking, and love demands truth. That's why I feel like Venus is on trial in many ways here. And so ask yourself, I think a very important question you guys can ask yourself for this full moon is, what happens when the love that you built on peace has to face the truth you've been avoiding? Because that's what Mars is doing. It's asking you to confront something within your relationships and yourself. And how can you find the balance? Do you need to maybe go on a little bit sense of a trial? Is the relationship on trial? Are you on trial? Is your partner on trial? Or your friend or very important person in your life? And I don't mean to the point where like you're absolutely holding everyone to the fire, but it's really about more so holding the truth of the relationship to the fire, because this full moon is a culmination. It's a mirror moment for your partnerships, your relationships. It is about projection. It is about harmony versus resentment. And are you ready to rise above that and move into something bigger? Because the sun and Chiron in Aries opposing this moon is bringing up that wound of maybe not being seen within your relationships. There's that tension between me and we, and there's a pressure to show up as your whole self, even in love. So have you been minimizing yourself, or has your partner been minimizing themselves? This square to Mars coming out of Cancer, which is still that passive aggressive energy that we've been talking about since when have we been talking about this? Since last fall, really. It does create emotional outbursts. It does bring up buried anger. It will bring up those protective instincts in you. So there's this body-based tension and perhaps even ancestral wounding surfacing because of that Mars in Cancer, that's really asking a lot of us to take a hard look at something that we can no longer allow to stay buried under the rug.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a cross between enough is enough. And I'm saying we could say that to ourselves. It could be Nicole saying to Nicole, enough is enough. Me saying to me, enough is enough. Meaning I'm actually putting myself on point. I'm not projecting outward that they did that, they said that, if they'd have just done more of that, if I don't really feel heard, if they'd just listen. No. First step with Aries, the sun is in Aries. The new moon seeds were in Aries. Neptune went into Aries. It's a new day. It's a new way. And in order to, as the Michael Bublé song goes, in order to feel good, we've got to start at home base. We've got to start with me, myself, and I. So it's a bit of enough is enough and fire and ice. And what I mean about the fire and ice is that when we feel like that we disassociate or we shut down or we go cold, when we have a moment, like whether it's a sudden moment or something that seems to come back to haunt or taunt us psychologically, fear is a type of like, we even suck in. If something scares us, we go, or we jump. We suck in, we inhale. We do like a real, like almost like a baby's, like the first breath when the umbilical cord is cut. So fire and ice is like the freeze frame of like, whoa, wait a minute. That was deep. That was big. I don't want to ignore that. Even when a partner brings something to us and, well, I've been talking to you about this and I haven't felt heard. That's when you and I, audience, as a partner go, whoa, wait a minute. I really heard you just say that you don't feel heard. I want you to know I'm freeze framing. I'm stopping. Whatever I'm doing, I'm putting down the pencil, putting down the fork, placing the coffee cup down, the wine glass. Look, I'm going to look at you in your face. Tell me, maybe say it to me a different way. I apologize if I missed it. I'm not recognizing it, but you have my full, Aries, you have my full attention right now in this moment. Tell me what it is that you feel like is a need that needs to be talked about, acknowledged. We may agree to disagree. It may be out of my capacity to fulfill that. What's your expectations about that? Because I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I will, if I would start to breed resentment. I have to, Aries, the best part of Aries energy is, like it or not, I'm going to show up authentic with a caveat. I'm going to be authentic, but I promise you I'm going to put myself in check, because my first modus operandi is I want to keep leveling up for the better version of myself. And to your point about the Mars in the water oceanic sign of Cancer, the good news about all this Pisces stuff that's still there, the North Node is Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is having a face-to-face conversation with Saturn. There's a maturity. There's possibly some father figure energies coming up, Saturn being Chronos, the father of time. There's like looking back on whether you're male or female, even though Aries is a yang, masculine, electrical type of energy, male or female. How was your relationship with your father? Look at the pluses and look at the minuses. And look at you, and if you, the very patterns, the very loops that you didn't like between the lack of or the intensity of your relationship with your father, the good, bad, and ugly, so to speak, why would you then continue to act out that pattern within yourself to someone else? Or the 180 degrees, why would you attract him or her doing the same pattern to you that you allowed to go on with your father? So that Saturn always brings in the elder, the grandparent, the father's lacks or support. So that's one of the orbits that's going on. And the other thing that's going on is that we've got a nice energy dynamic that's going on between Saturn and Pisces, joined with Venus. The North Node is very close, our karmic work, getting along with Uranus and Taurus. So we're grounded as long as, to Nicole's point, as long as we're willing to stop ignoring what needs to be now just changed, dealt with, level up time. I always say, let's not shame or blame ourselves. Hell, society and our family of origin will do that enough. And we don't need someone else to criticize somebody or shame us or blame us. Let's take the responsibility ourselves and say, I have been avoiding that. I have been enabling that. I have kind of shut down on that. I have said to myself, I'll do it. I'm just not ready. Well, like Nicole said, yeah, this full moon is those lessons and those little ways for you to take your time, procrastinate, go play video games, put off everything and say, oh, yeah, I'll clean it up. I will do it. And you're not dealing with it. The type of things that are going on with the Aries, Chiron, Neptune and Aries in the sign, and then the sun joining with Chiron are saying this wound, this scary clown, this soul wound actually is giving you a hack of how to actually let the wound now become the mentor and the teacher, and you don't have to carry the weight of it ever again this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this moon is, there's so much going on. I mean, with Venus being the ruler, yes, we have the challenges, which is important. Like Mars is saying, nope, you got to stand up for yourself. You got to stand up for the relationship. You got to, as the partner's everyone's got to stand up and take ownership, okay, of what's really going on. And are you going to, like you said, Mary, hear one another out, show up or show out. So, but the beautiful thing is that the ruler of this full moon, like Mary said, Venus is in Pisces, and she is stationing direct just an hour after this full moon, I believe, reaches its culmination.
Yes.
So that is interesting because that tells us that Venus is waking up. The goddess of love and harmony and relationship, she's waking up. So that sensual, intuitive energy is coming back online. It's not hiding. It's had time to reflect. It's had time to look at all the places that maybe it had misread or misunderstood. And like Mary said, it is going to be conjunct Saturn, which I believe for the ones that are serious about their relationships, and again, this is not just pertain to romantic relationships. This is your very important one-to-one relationships that you care about deeply, okay? Saturn is bringing in that level of maturity, that level of responsibility, that level of maturity of saying, I am committed. I am committed. Now, whether you're committed to the relationship evolving or committed to yourself realizing the relationship has perhaps expired and it's not allowing you to evolve. Depending on where you're at and how this is hitting your particular natal chart will really depend on that. But that's kind of coming up. And yes, even though we are out of eclipse season, this full moon is definitely still getting activated by the North Node because Venus is so close to the North Node during this particular full moon. And so she is in a deep conversation with Saturn first, but also the North Node and also Mercury. So there's a lot going. Conversations are being had. There could be renegotiations of contracts within relationships, whether they're business, romantic, family, whatever. Because I do believe with Mars in Cancer, we're going to see some major family relationship dynamics coming up, some that could be ancestral to some degree, whether they're arising in your relationships or actually directly part of your family relationships. But also, I think this is going to be a really important full moon to say, like, are we growing together? Are we evolving, or are we holding each other back? That, I think, is an important question to ask.
It is. And when she really hear us when we're saying, because people tend to focus on just who they're married to, who they're living with, who they're dating, really hear us when we're saying this is a broad brush of all relating that you're doing with the people that tend to be the majority players in your life theater right now. So you're going out, buddy, the neighbors, and Nicole's point, of course, with Mars and Cancer, the family dynamic, ancestral. People hear a lot about, in shamanic terms, ancestral or generational curses. There's also ancestral blessings and generational blessings. This is the kind of moon, when Nicole was talking about Aries can, whenever Aries is in your sign or there's a big Aries aspect, it's like, don't be impatient, watch your impulsiveness, don't be distracted when you're handling volatile liquids or sharp things or explosive things. It's like you get distracted, you might not put on the brakes in time, God forbid, or you could cut yourself when you're going too fast to get the dinner done on time, or you're outside trimming plants and all in spring. So Aries is about be present, be in the moment. This is the task that we are to now be involved with, to initiate as these retrogrades end, as we get to April the 18th, and then when we get to that big opposition between Mars in Leo to Pluto, early Leo, to Pluto in Aquarius, that's game changing. I really feel between April 18th and before we get to that new moon in Taurus over the 26th, 27th, we've got that. Mars is just, it's like boom, it's in fire. We've got Aries planets, that's fire. And it's like, I am so glad to be out of the water sign of Cancer, because it is held back. It's like having a hard time keeping its head above water. Look at, hard back, soft front, soft center. Look at a crab. Look at a turtle. Yes, they have a hard shell. Look at a lobster. They've got a hard shell. But when you break the crab legs, when you go into the lobster, people that find a turtle realize, oh my gosh, the shell's actually a part of the biodiversity of that creature. I mean, that is their house. That's their house of survival. So what we're housing in the rooms within our house is all, even in astrology, the 12 houses. When you look at the star wheel, when you look at the front door, which is your rising sign, you walk into your round house of the star chart, the nativity of this earth walk, this incarnation, and you have 12 rooms, 12 sections, 12 houses, as it's the ancient astrological term, where when we go in there, when we go in the second house, when we go through the houses a little bit later on, Nicole and I, when we are in that house, that's the main show. That's the theater. These are the points of emphasis. Aries always naturally rules the first house, me, myself, and I. I am that I am. Libra, so Aries, let's say, is spring. So 6 months later, it's Libra, and it's the fall equinox, the autumnal equinox. So Libra is about, wow, 6 months ago, I started on the journey. I made personal commitments. I said I would be disciplined and dedicated to this goal that I have with myself. I want to overcome this. I want to allow this. I want to try this new modality in my relationships. I want to open up my vulnerability. I'm going to stop hiding behind my mask. I'm going to trust that I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to speak up more. I do not want to be a rival. I do not want to compete. I do not want to fight. Let's just say somebody doesn't like to confront things. So Libra. So let's say that we're tired of confronting things or hoping that friend that always wants to borrow money, and it's been 2 years and they're still having money problems. They want to borrow money, and you show up and you're the relative, you're the brother, the sister, the friend that says to them, let me help you out with that. Let me help you out with that. But it's still 2 years and they're stuck in the loop of the same old story, and they've really not done any other type of action, Aries, to go start to shift that. That's not about wanting to make anybody feel guilty. It's about the help that you're giving them is no longer helping them because they're still stuck in the loop. So you did what you felt as a loving friend, a partner, a family member. You did give. You did give. You did the action. The action is Aries. You didn't do the words. They gave you words. You showed up with the action. So the Libra Aries full moon is about stop just throwing out words, giving possibility promises, listening to sugary words from other people. It's about the actions. What actions are you willing to take? What actions are you doing? What actions are they not or not doing or not taking? So this dynamic right now is saying, of course, to thine own self be true. And so stop expecting out of others. It's what another bloom of what Nicole's advice is here that she's blessing you with, or she's coaching you with. Stop expecting so much externally out of others when you're not doing it with yourself.
Ugh, preach. I think that's really important. And I think, for each of you, may I offer a little soul invitation for you during this full moon. Remember, the full moon is a mirror. It's a magnifier, correct? It's a moment where this particular one within your relationships, where love either evolves or it expires. So I invite each of you on this full moon leading up to it, which is on Saturday, or Sunday early for those of you on the other side of the world. What truth are you not speaking in your relationships or acting upon? Where are you abandoning yourself for the illusion of peace? Because remember, Venus is in Neptune, which is all about illusions. And so within your relationship, what illusions are you not confronting? Because I really think that's what's going to be a big thing that comes up for a lot of us. And who are you in partnership? Do you lose yourself or do you find yourself? These are really important things to kind of look at within this particular full moon. And I agree with Mary. This is absolutely the full moon that you do not just use words. You have to bring your actions in. Mars is such a big component to this full moon. And not just because the sun in Chiron are Aries, but because Mars is squaring it, and squaring it from Cancer, meaning that's your inner world. So it's like you can no longer keep things inside. They really do have to be externalized in a healthy way. So, this is about, really kind of showing up through action in your relationships. So really kind of think about how you want to show up in relationships. Are you doing that? Or is this a kind of come to Jesus moment where you're like, shoot, I really need to start looking at myself or my partner. And are we doing what we say we wanted to do or doing? So that's, I think, a really important piece to this particular full moon.
And then we look at our country and we look at the season that's next coming up that we tend to have some traditional customs with. There's already funny memes because Easter this year falls on 420. So they're already doing those memes of like, yeah, it's going to be a really good celebration of Easter because it's on the 420. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. You 420 tribe, that's a good grin, but that's not how I perceive, the ascended master full moons and the resurrection cycle of resurrecting and rising from the old. And when we look at Libra each year, the full moon of Libra, next the full moon of Scorpio, and then finally in the trilogy of the ascended master moons, we have in order, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. This is, in my mystical, metaphysical trainings with White Eagle, the Libra full moon is the start of the 3 ascended master moons. And the Libra full moon calls us to look at the layers of love and the layers that might be eclipsing your ability to both love yourself and appreciate that even when we go through shocking things, losses, wow, I didn't see that coming. Oh, that was a betrayal. Oh my God, that just wasn't fair, Libra. That just wasn't fair. That's not a win-win. Why are they so jealous of me? Why do they want to try to take my content and put their name on? What is the competition here? So the irritants of the actions of Aries can be like, somebody says, someone dresses like you or copies you or tries to take your style, what do they call that? It's like a form of flattery. And I'm like, no, it's annoying. It's annoying. But underneath the surface, remember Mars and Cancer, all the Pisces, underneath the ocean, the depths of the ocean, underneath their actions, which seem immature and unnecessary at the very least, like be you, don't act like me, be you. You're unique. We can preach that all we want to, but when they say that that somebody that's copying you, it's an unconscious form of flattery. They kind of want to be you, and they might be a little scared instead of just being bougie and extra and mean spirited. It might be that they haven't found the ability to believe that they're okay just the way they are, and they're trying to fit in with something that they admire or that society accepts. Because when you look at the layers of Libra with this, when you look at the layers and you look at this sun conjuncting Chiron, the key to healing the wound, in Aries, some of the self-care has to do with the layers of fear, grief, grieving a loss. With all these retrogrades, we've been kind of going back to that last relationship, maybe the first person we were ever intimate with, maybe our yearnings of how we originally, when we're going from a young child, teenage, young adult to when I get married and when I find love, this is what I want and this is what I want to be. Anytime you've got a parade of retrogrades, it's good for us to be in retrospect, to recalibrate, to look back. And even the degrees of this particular sign of Libra, and when we go into the Sabian symbols, it's artistic, metaphysical, mystical portraits that was done with a clairvoyant named Elsie Wheeler and Dane Rudger, and so they came up with the Sabian symbols. And so he wanted to blend astrology with just what a clairvoyant would get a picture of. Every one of the degrees has this. And the rule of thumb is if the moon's exactly at 23 degrees of Libra, you go up 1 degree because the moon's fast moving, for example. So the degree for 24 degrees of Libra is the third wing on the left side of a butterfly. So it has to do with the butterfly's different. It doesn't have it doesn't have both its upper parts of its wings. So it had a chaotic crisis challenge in its transformation coming out of the cocoon, made it from a caterpillar, had time in the cocoon. Something might have tried to be a predator, or it got caught or hung up like we often do when it was trying to escape the old egg, the old cocoon, the old self. And it made it out. It made it out. It rose up. It doesn't fly quite like the other butterfly species that have both wings fully formed. It's the third wing. So if you're looking at the butterfly, 1 and 2 might be, 1 and 2. It's got one of those parts of that other wing on the left side missing when it was finally emerging from the cocoon. Usually the right side goes out first. So the left mystically has to do with our past. It has to do with the feminine. It has to do with the part of us unconsciously that holds things in as reference points based on shock and awe emotionally that got embedded at a cellular level. I know that's a lot, but those first times in our life, the first time we had something really exotic and blissful or sensuous or wonderful, the best birthday cake you ever had, the first time you made love with someone, the first time someone deliberately lied to you or stole from you, those big firsts are just like, we're like taken aback, as they say. But this butterfly, even though it doesn't have a wing that everybody recognizes visually that's flying around, the yellow ones and the black and the orange ones and the blue ones, it made it. And so the artistic symbology is sometimes we might have creative differences. Sometimes challenges may have helped us ultimately overcome being a little off-centered at times. The challenges, the losses, the differentness, that when we have to go through a really painful episode in our life that we absolutely, Libra, was it fair? We absolutely didn't think it was fair at all that life, fate, God, people took that action in our life against us or took something from us like that untimely, in a sense. We didn't see it coming. It was a train wreck. It was a crash and burn, and we had to, if you will, get it back up in the saddle and ride again. So this butterfly is symbolic of the third wing on the left side of the butterfly, is giving us a magnetic, taking responsibility for, we are moving with the Pisces energy, the Mars and Cancer energy. We're moving with, see yourself as a magnet, that upside down U kind of magnet with the white and the red. Take responsibility, Aries. Take action, Aries, with, if I had to ask myself, and we're supposed to let go of things at the full moon, even if we get a piece of paper and just write down, I'm letting go of this, and I divorce this, and I'm breaking up with that. The magnet is the other side of the paper that says, what do I want to draw to me? What have I been drawing to me that I didn't want to look at? Aries is the 5 senses. Aries has a lot to do with the physical eyes. How are you looking at it? Will you allow yourself to take action, Aries, to see it from a fresh angle, from a new angle? I tell you, this last week, Nicole, my crisis calls and clients was an Aries and 2 Libras. And it was about, could it be true? This is so unfair that they're changing this about my employment. I have seniority. The Libra questions, of course, were about, relationships and, how come these lovers, I was good to them. They stole from me. This person's promising me the moon, and how can I trust this? Yet they're asking me for money. So it's like that leaning in of like, wow, I feel so, I'm heated up, Aries. And I believe in love. I'm not telling you not to believe in love. I'm telling you to look at, and Nicole and I are on the same page on this. If something needs to end, do you understand that it could be the lesson is learned, that you've been able to finally not have that repeating pattern? And as we end, anybody or ourselves being unbalanced or not fair or over expecting from someone else, or we're not doing our part of a win-win dynamic at work, in the family. And sometimes, we avoid confronting family members most of all, or that marriage partner or that live-in partner most of all, because it's like, I got to choose my battles. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal of it. So that's okay. It's good in Aries season to pause, really good to pause, but sit with it and look at it. And is it that you always seem to be gaslighted, or it always gas, again, fuel, what fuels you, what drives you? All that's Mars, all that's Aries. And once we have Mars do that pop out of Cancer on Saturday, depending on where you live in the world, Mars is gonna pop back into the regal lion ruled by the sun, and Aries ruled by Mars, and Leo ruled by the sun, and Jupiter, which rules the sign of Sagittarius. That's our fire signs. That's the fire signs. That's the brothers in arms, the heroes. I'll go to battle for you. I have my scales of justice, and I have my sword of truth. So what this is saying is, if we're willing to be the change first, Aries, first sign, to be the change and implement the discipline and the new habits and the new regime and be dedicated, be to thine own self, be true, and we start to shift those changes, it becomes easier for us to set the boundaries that both respect ourselves at work with money. Venus is finance and romance. It's both things. We begin to be able to set the boundaries to say, yeah, I don't see how that's a win-win deal. I don't see that it's always your fault, and I'm certainly not going to accept that it's always my fault. So either you can accept me as I am, I can accept you as you are, and if it's non-negotiable, that Libra negotiates. If it's non-negotiable, that you don't want to change that, cheating on me or drinking too much or can't get along with me unless you smoke a joint, or you're always with your mom and we don't get time alone and your mom criticizes me and you don't stand up for me, whatever that dynamic is, it's beginning to grate on your nerves. It's not going to go away by ignoring it. And this full moon, to Nicole's point 30 minutes ago, this is the game changer. We're being gifted, not punished. We're being gifted to be shown what has to change and what we've got to move on from or let go of.
Yeah. And to that point, before we jump into all signs here, I would like to, like what Mary was said was great, because, with these full moons, and if you are into doing rituals for your moons, may I offer, write a letter to your relationship shadow. Okay. Whatever shadow is coming, the part of you, let's think here, Mars in Cancer, the part of you that plays nice when really deep down, all you want to do is scream. Okay. Like, what is that relationship shadow within you that you always keep stuff down? And now it's like, it cannot be contained. And of course, during this full moon, ideally you want to express it in a healthy way. However, it's difficult when Mars is in Cancer and likes to be passive aggressive, and it likes to just erupt out of nowhere because it's been stuffing down and stuffing down and stuffing down. So this is an opportunity for you to write a letter that write a letter to your relationship shadow that is surfacing right now, that again wants to play nice when really you shouldn't be, and then burn it, release it, right? And as she said, this is an opportunity for the reason why we're releasing is so that you create space for what you really want in your life
and deserve.
Yeah. So you could write a new soul contract, okay, with yourself. Maybe it's about committing, showing up as your whole self in every relationship, even if it means breaking the mold. Okay, whatever that might be. So I think this is a really good opportunity. Of course, with the full moon coming up, before Mary jumps in, I just want to say, if you want to book a session with Mary to get clarity, look, there isn't one person I know in my life right now that isn't going through some sort of relationship drama. Everyone I know is going through some kind of relationship drama right now. Again, not necessarily romantic, any kind of relationship drama, but it's really pulling things up to the surface. So if you need some guidance, Mary is always here. I've got her website in the description below. But Mary, do you want to jump into all signs now and
we can, but maybe let's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Let's recap just a little bit, because we've got so many great arrows out there. So let's just encapsulate. Let's focus on the sign that it's in. It's a micro moon, which means the moon is furthest away from Earth right now. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is conjunct Neptune, and Venus, which rules the moon, is going to change into Aries within an hour, as Nicole said, as this full moon happens. We're starting to see the shift of the retrograde planets in Pisces now let go of the embryonic labor, and we're going to birth anew. Aries is about birthing the new way, a new style. Yes, maybe there was a divorce, maybe you had to move, maybe the job ended, but now, even though at the time we're like, wham, 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 damn, 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 it's still the Aries is like, okay, trust your ancestors, trust your guides. It looks like it was a loss. It looks like it was unfair, but this is propelling you into leveling up, giving you some new skill sets, building your courage, letting you really see you can overcome after a hard kick, a hard bump. You can overcome. It is the saddle that we're all going to get back up on, even though we were thrown from the horse. So the saddle is here. It's back on the horse. The horse got spooked by a rock or a snake or a dog, but the horse never intended to hurt you. The horse got spooked. We were on top of the horse. So the horse is like, all right, I got scared. Things got off balance for me. So let's go. I don't hate you. It's not like it's a violent horse that wants to bite you all the time. So it's about, again, that telepathic. A rider on a horse is in a Libra type of partnership. Our partnerships are not limited to human species. Our partnership is with Mother Nature. We have a partnership with the energies of the moon and the sea and the mountains and other animals, and other cultures. We have a relationship with different people's beliefs and truths. We form a relationship with both spirit, our mind, and our heart about, oh yes, these life principles are going to be, these are my guidelines. These are the truth steps that I want to be a part of. So the Libra full moon is saying, how's that going? Is it balanced? The Libra scales, Themis in Greek mythology, Themis, the one that was the original oracle at the Oracle of Delphi until it was handed over to Apollo. So Themis holds the sword, justice. There's a need for justice. There will be justice. I stand for justice. But Libra's not about doing anything violent in order to get what someone else decides in just their opinion, that this is how I have to take this violent action in order to take a stand or for this to be justice. No. That's not, no. Inflicting violence on someone else or someone else's things is not spiritual, in my opinion, and it's not Libra, no matter who's doing it, no matter what principles are involved. So Libra is saying, let's get a balance. Let's get equilibrium in our priority relationships, what I call our SOs, our significant others. And social, let me look at my social contracts. Do my friends expect me to always go bowling or always go skiing or always have drinks in order for me to be accepted by the group? Maybe you've outgrown that. Maybe you've stayed at home too much, and maybe you've been kind of like shut in and reclusive, and now you've got some new friends saying, I'll go with you. Hey, let's go over here. Come on, I'll introduce you to my friends. So there's going to be a coming out of the cocoon one way or the other. It is with a highly Piscean sky, basin sky. It is filled with spiritual yearning. Mm-hmm. Lord, help me. I don't want to go through this again. I'm weary. I mean, I've had so many people talk to me also, especially Virgos and Pisces, about my sleep is interrupted. I can't rest. I can't shut my mind off. I've got to rest. And so we look at things like springtime pollen, but yet, can you shut your mind off? The whole Virgo thing. So Venus, which is lovingly softening this full moon, Libra and Cancer and Pisces want to be soft signs. They stand for what they stand for. They believe in their principles, but they want to be a soft spot in the world, a soft place to land. The pink and the rose and the red and the wine. Libra, Cancer, and Pisces in our charts want to have the sweet spot. That's what we want to do. The desserts of life, if you will, the dessert experiences. So when Venus stations direct at 24 Pisces, as we talked about, conjuncting the father figure, think about the old George Michael song, I Will Be Your Father Figure. It's got that really interesting Arabic, Middle Eastern, swirl in the chorus of it, but it's committing to be your father figure, even though he's the lover. I will be your father figure. I will be your daddy. It's like he's saying, I'll give you what was missing or what you loved about your father. That's going on with Saturn and Mars in this dynamic because they happen to be getting along in water signs. So this Mercury, North Node, Saturn, this stellium, which means several planets and clumping in one zodiac sign. Venus is dignified in Pisces. She's dignified in Pisces. Mars is in detriment in the sign of Cancer. So she's sobered up. She's matured with the conjunction to Saturn and the karmic arrow. You know, the North Node right now is saying, I'll show you. I love you. I've been with your soul since the beginning of any incarnation. I'm the light in any darkness. I will always be that voice that talks to you and encourages you and says, it's not over yet. The party's not over. The curtain will rise again. So the North Node right now is very favorable because of Uranus and Taurus and the Mars in Cancer and the Piscean planets. It's like, and Jupiter in Gemini is saying, I like Pluto in Aquarius, and ooh, I like this Libra moon. That's the air element. So when Nicole said maybe you work on a soul contract, defining it, writing a new one, and maybe burn it, the two elements that are involved when we do a burning bowl, or we throw it into the ceremonial fire, even the campfire, when we write it down, mind, ether, thoughts, air. That's the air element. I'm thinking it. I've made a decision to release it. It invokes our will and our mind, and then we make a decision. We decide. We debride one thing and we move into another thing. We make a commitment. So when you actually strike the match, light the fire, that's Aries. I'm lighting fire and light. When the fire burns the paper that she's talking about, for example, when we do these kind of mystical and spiritual ceremonials, because it's good for our third dimensional eyes to see us do these things sometimes and participate in the ritual, because then we can say, I did it. That's Aries. I did it. I did it. You actually experience the experience instead of just hearing about it ad nauseum. You finally do it and participate. When the fire burns the paper, or the incense even is lit, or the white sage wand is lit, the smoke that rises from the incense and the white sage wand, or the copal, or the actual fire, that's taking the material matter that the fire combusted, and when it goes up into the smoke, it's the holy smoke of the release, and you can visually see it when you do rituals like that. I love the Native American fire ceremonies that I do, the fire circles, because literally people write down quite privately and intimately what they're ready to let go of, the wound, whatever, and they put it into the fire and they thank Great Spirit. But they stand up and they go put it into the fire, and then the tobacco is thrown. They throw a little clump of just raw tobacco into the fire to do a Thanksgiving, the actual ritual of, I thank Spirit, I thank Great Spirit, I thank you, Mother, Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun. I thank the elements, as above, so below, and I'm physically throwing with my own hands, tossing into the fire what I want to let go of. Nicole's point, write it down, burn it. And then when you put it out, even when it goes out, there's still the smoldering smoke. There's still, and you can see the smoke going up, and then all of a sudden it's just invisible. Why? Because it blended with the air that you wear. It blended in the atmosphere. The invisibles, the spirits, the essence, the energy married it for you and took it up away from you. That's why rituals are fun to do. That's why baptisms and cleansings and releasing with fire and air and burying things in the earth and planting a plant. These are things, we're physical creatures right now as souls moving through time. Putting our hands on it ourselves, Aries, doing it ourselves, is a type of liberation. And Libra ultimately wants us to rise to the liberation of love. That's what it wants us to do.
Yes.
It wants us to rise to that. So having said that, if you want me to move into Aries, I will.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Aries, first and foremost, happy solar return, your sunshine new year and your birthdays. 2025 is really, really a powerful, powerful year for Aries and your polarity opposite sign of Libra. This is 2025 is, if you're an Aries or you have an Aries rising or an Aries moon, if you've got a strong Aries presence, you become the one that chooses to be like the Fool card in the tarot. You become like the magician. You become the one that says, I'm going to do this. I am a sovereign soul. This is my vision quest, and I must. I no longer think about it, just forget about it if I'm not willing to take the first step and move forward in this evolutionary, intuitive, emotional, like I'm going back into my spirit no matter what I do on earth. So Aries is the fire, the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, Great Spirit. It's the fire of the invisible source and the divine alignments that are available to us all the time, which is why the burning bush said, I am that I am. It was a bush, it was an acacia bush on fire, Aries, that would not burn the bush. It did not burn the bush, which is what took Moses aback, is the burning bush. And he just kind of stopped after carrying those laser infused tablets that he was bringing down off the mountain. He's already got a stress shit show down at the bottom of the mountain because they're worshiping idols again, as the story goes. He led the Egyptians out of slavery. They're expecting yet another miracle from this long bearded guy, as the old artists, Renaissance artists, have depicted him in the Middle Eastern times. And here he's carrying these tablets going, oh, wow, that was a trip. Was I hallucinating? Was that real? And all of a sudden he stops and there's a burning bush. It's just sitting there burning. And he looks at it, take off your shoes, for you're standing on holy ground. And the bush says, I am that I am. And yet Moses is in for another shock, because it's like, okay, that fire's not burning that bush. So once again, I'm in some kind of altered state. I'm in some kind of multidimensional, ultra-terrestrial, which is available to us all the time, literally because we're still breathing. So this is that holy fire. This is the fires of our desires. This is our ability to rebuke fear, rebuke negativity. You can't do that. Everybody else is better than you. It's not for you this lifetime to actually cast that into the fire and say, no more do you haunt me and taunt me. I am one with the all that is. So this is, Aries, this is the almighty I am forces. Now what they're doing with Neptune going into your sign, none of us this lifetime have lived through that one, because our lifespans don't tend to be 165 years. That's the last time it went into Aries. So Aries, you're being called to balance, hint, hint, Libra, to balance your drive for independence, Sun, Chiron in your signs. We're not talking about Sun and Chiron just at this full moon. Oh no, sweet cheeks. The Sun and Chiron are still riding together in Aries. They're on the other horse in Aries. You just fell off temporarily and you're getting back up again because there's an opposition to this full moon. There's deeper relational awareness. This full moon, this moonrise in your 7th house of Libra is surfacing from underneath the surface. It still can be pretty when you're swimming in the ocean and you just bring your head up, and or you watch the dolphin break the top of the water when it's or the moonlight dance on the salt water at night, or the sunrise when the sun sets. You see that dance of light on the water. It's that too. So this Venus Saturn is surfacing an old wound, maybe an old wounding pattern. It's bringing it to the surface. It can't hide or live in the depths of your subconscious anymore. It can't stay locked in your cellular intelligence, but it is around partnerships of some kind, not necessarily the lover. We've said that several times because we really want to drive that point home. Venus and Saturn, Aries, is joining forces. They're marrying in a conjunction in your womb house, in your 12th house. The sign before Aries is Pisces. So there's a laboring that's been going on for Aries. And actually, the graduation point was in January. You had a graduation point start around January 11th when the North and South Node got out of 18 months of Aries and Libra. All the eclipses, the final eclipse in Aries was March, the one we just had, the last new moon. So Aries has now got 18 months worth of karmic soul blessings and lessons off of it. And so you have simultaneously a major graduation of opportunity coming in, like the gifts of like, ooh, finished up that school. Now I'm moving on to either the job or the next school. But it's asking you right now at this full moon for a little emotional surrender and some karmic closure. I'll say it again. Just a little bit of very private, very intimate, emotional, take a knee for the sake of your own soul being divinely aligned. You're only surrendering and bowing down to the forces of light, not another person, not because somebody else, anybody else was right, making you wrong. You are surrendering so that you can have the karmic closure, the liberation of I'm done with that. I don't have to learn that through pain or loss. I don't have to shed in a way that pains anyone else. With me doing what I don't do or what I did do, I don't have to be the addict of drama anymore. So Aries, as you're letting go of the past loves or the yearnings that became a bit of an illusion because it was something you needed within you that they couldn't match or wouldn't match, that's been keeping you stuck. Healing right now, Aries, is in the solitude. So this full moon is saying soul time, solitude is very, very liberating for you. All of the signs will have a different style of how this moon is beginning to invigorate them in order to break up with that which is no longer good. So for Aries, I say it is monumental. I would pick Aries out of all 12 signs, even though the full moon's rising in Libra. I would pick Aries right now as going through the most major transformation, because Mars has been challenged. Mars rules Aries, and there's just a lot of things that are going on to where Aries is like, okay, enough pressure. That's it. That's my point. I'll change it. That's it. So for Aries, I salute you early, because you're literally coming out of some kind of boot camp, and you're probably going into some kind of specialized, unique training. Yeah, but there is going to be something that, even though you put dedication and loyalty and you were the team player and you did years and years and years to get where you were, if it's still for your ultimate highest good and you just can't see it yet, that job's hours got cut in half, or that person said, I don't want to be a parent anymore and I'm leaving, that the shock and the unfairness may come first, but where you land, how you land, and what emerges and opens up for you is going to be bigger than anything that looks like got unfairly taken away from you. That's the important thing of Aries. If you're Taurus, the flavor that's a sweet spot for Taurus is both Taurus and Libra are governed over by Venus. And Venus in Libra is completely different the way Venus is in Taurus. I get that. But they still have to do with a favorability about things that matter most to you. I think they rhyme for a reason: romance and finance. So this Libra full moon, and remember, a full moon, when it's not an eclipse, is finishing off what got seeded and cut loose back the last week of March. So this full moon is showing all signs what it is that we need to just be done with. It's like, would you just get the chore over with? Would you just finally do what you said you were going to do? Stop letting it hang over your head, and don't let there be carrots hanging over your head. So for Taurus, this Libra moon is lighting up the 6th house. So it's the daily deal, whether that's how you take care of yourself, service to the car, service to the house, getting busy with the yard. Are you going to do a garden? Are you going to do herbs? It has a lot to do with your pets. There might be a new pet show up. There might be a pet that you want to change their diet, your diet, do some specialty nutritional tightening up a little bit. You may be cutting back on sugar, and you may decide that you're going to do, some more protein type of a thing, and look at your supplements. You may be going through your supplements saying, okay, that served its time for me when I was in my 20s. Now I want to do more of this. You'll evaluate how well you're resting when you're wanting to recharge or sleep with your body. So you're reevaluating all the routines. Why do I keep saying recalibrate, reevaluate? Because we've got retrogrades that are finishing up, and you're coming to the end of Uranus being in your sign of Taurus for 7 years. So we've got a lot of changes that are coming up between 2025 and 2026. It takes a lot of pressure off of the Taurus Scorpio axis and the Aries Libra axis. It's going to be more putting Virgos and Pisces in the spotlight. So Taurus, Venus is your ruler. So you're going to be kind of stepping back and looking at, do I still want my routine and the way I do my routine the same way? What about those partnerships and relationships at where I work, what I work with, the people that I'm hiring to fix this, do this, mow this, replace this, paint this? So Taurus right now, even if you're at the retired state and you're not doing any kind of a 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 type of job, who are you paying money to? Who's wanting to get paid by you? And how's the organization of that? So Venus also being very social, when she goes direct in your 11th house, right as this full moon happens, some friends, the networking with friends you haven't seen for a while, the people that you've lost over the last year, you may be connecting with people around them and watching how they've grieved and how they've grown and how they're emerging as that third wing of the butterfly we talked about. So goals, Saturn and the North Node are urging you, Taurus, to choose to spend your time with the types of people and personalities and companions that are uplifting, that do uplift and kind of ignite a remembrance of your spiritual purpose, like the real reason you're here, souls that are moving through time. So it's a subtle transformation for Taurus. And I feel like it's going to show up in your networking, in your group of friends, the neighbors. There could be a whole neighborhood full of people, but then there's the ones that Taurus likes to spend time with. So it's remember, romance and finance, Venus. How are you spending finance? What are you investing in? How are you spending your energy and your time? Are you feeling lethargic and drained after being around certain types of people, or the person that you wanted to hire to do this or that just keeps giving you a song and dance? That's draining. Move on to the next one. Like, yeah, not a match kind of a thing. So for Taurus, it's about tightening up. Tauruses are better and Cancers are better if they've got the routine thing and all the people that they want to hire to do this or that all settled. Then they can relax. They don't like that aggravating and causing them to have unexpected moments in the day of emails and text and cancellations. If you're Gemini, Jupiter's still in your sign. It's going to pop into the next sign of Cancer in summer, but Jupiter spends about a year in a sign. And so this full moon in the 5th house of pleasure, perhaps even spending some time around stepkids or your kids, even if they're adults, or someone announcing a new baby's on the way. So around Geminis right now, it's the pleasure and the romance. That's what the 5th house is. How can I have creative fun? How can I boost my own creative artistic ways? What would I like to be creative with or involved with? So it's spotlighting themes of joy versus responsibilities, Gemini. So the Pisces stellium, the meeting up of all those Pisces energies are sitting at the top of your chart in the 10th house. That's our career and that's our legacy. Sometimes I kind of put those together and I say, what kind of legacy am I creating? What kind of worker am I? Was I at that place? Do I stand up for ethics? Long after I leave that job, do they know that, boy, that one had integrity? Boy, you didn't get her to lie. You didn't get them to steal. They weren't going to go and do the wrong thing. They even stood up to the boss. So it's about sometimes, even though we'll leave a certain school or a certain job, there's a memory-making moment. We became someone's teacher mentor by how we did what we did, because even if they cheated, even if they did the wrong thing, even if they were lazy, when we confronted them, when we said, yeah, I'm not carrying the weight for you, I got my own stuff to do, and I'm not taking yours on. That's not in our friendship contract. That's not in our career coworker contract. Yeah, I'm not doing your stuff. It's not happening, man. Versus the people that had to be people pleasers and say, I'll do it. They're just having a bad day. So Gemini is learning that sometimes it's better to not get involved or not preach about it, teach about it, talk about it. Gemini is the sign of communicating. Sometimes Geminis become more powerful by zipping their lip and observing what's going on and catching the pattern. So that's kind of what this moon is releasing you from. And it's just saying to you, Gemini, play. Go to the mountain, do a hot air balloon ride, go see the kid, let the kid come see you. There's an alignment, I think, for you, Gemini, that's actually going on with what might be a bridge between you and a younger person. Maybe there's some dissension between you and a stepchild or one of your children, or where there used to be difficulty with you and one of your children or cousins or whatever. The retrogrades brought you back together after a lot of space in between your togetherness, and you're actually able to see each other with new eyes because they've matured, you've mellowed, and those two words can kind of go together a lot of times. So I feel like if I had to say, where could the full moon cause a little bit of a volcanic eruption? It could be the way that kid acts out. You've told them, don't do that again. If I catch you doing that again, the way the kid or the grandkid acts out, or the stepkid. Or it also could be that your partner says to you, well, I think I've given and given and given, and I think it's my turn. It could be a little bit of that. If you're a Cancer, the full moon is hitting the lower part of the chart, the 4th house, and that, of course, now Mars is in Cancer, and that's the home. That's got to do with parental issues. We got the full moon for your sign, Cancer, hitting in the 4th house, and Mars is in your sign. And the sign of Cancer has to do with that whole psychological, spiritual, will I be judged or not? Will I judge or not? Family dynamic. So those teachers and the stresses and the pluses and minuses of the whole family dynamic, that could come up with this full moon. Do I think it'll be a direct hit to you necessarily? No, because Mars has been bouncing back and forth retrograde in the signs of Leo, Cancer, and it soon goes back into Leo on the 18th, and that totally liberates Cancerians in that sense. You'll be focused more on finances and how you can express your talents. But right now, the sun in Aries next to Chiron, marrying Chiron, actually sitting down at the table and having some kind of meet and greet with Chiron in your 10th house is doing a little pressure on public visibility versus career expectations. So you may have to remind your clients or your patients or the people that you work on or work with, stop dumping on me. Stop trying to be coy and clever and get free information out of me. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. This is my playtime and these are my work boundaries. And yeah, don't suck up to me and try to be a friend because you want free shit. It's not going to work. That doesn't work if you work in an ice cream shop or a restaurant or the guest. Hey man, I'm your best friend. I'm kind of short on cash. Just go ahead and fill up my card. Yeah, no, I got to account for this on the register. No. So sometimes it's a little tough, but we actually help somebody more by saying, for me right now, it's a no. That's the difference between that's a hard pass. I'm done, enough is enough, fire and ice time. So Cancer right now is calling for an overarching, like look for the bigger win, look at the longer range view because Mars is in your sign, yeah, but it's also doing the most magical, miracle producing aspect or relationship with the North Node in Pisces. So it's trining the North Node in Pisces, and by sign, it's an energy that's also getting along with all that Pisces stuff. So usually you're a little reticent. You know, the crab doesn't want to really, the turtle and the crab don't really want to come out of that shell until they feel safe. I feel like you could take some brave emotional steps when we come to this full moon weekend, especially as you get into Saturday and Sunday forward to the next new moon on the 27th. I feel just be careful with your money when we have that Mars and Leo come up for the third time to oppose Pluto and Aquarius when we get to that 25th, 26th of April. To me, for all signs, that's a pump your brakes, back your truck up, pause before you make that final signing on the dotted line or committing to invest this or sell this for that amount. Everybody needs to take a financial pause and think before you speak or commit, and certainly manage your anger and your impulses, especially when you're in traffic over that April 25th, 26th on that opposition. And that's, I said that because we're coming into Leo. Mars is going to go into your sign. Leo is coming back into your sign. You had a taste of that before it went retrograde when it was traveling in Leo and then backed up into Cancer. This full moon in Libra favors you. Libra and Leo get along by sign and by element. It's the fire and the smoke. It's the smoke that lights the fire, that ignites the passion. It activates communication for you. It activates, I think the Aries part of it in opposition can be, are you being a little bougie and expecting people to attend to you too much? Remember the minus side of Aries with these oppositions. It's like, I want my way or you can take the highway. So you being a Leo, you bring a lot of big personality medicine, whichever way. Never be fooled by a shy Leo. Remember, I taught you that. Never be fooled by a seemingly shy Leo. There's a whole lot of fire in there. So, Leo, you need to harmonize those inner voices, or you're going to be resolving and having to attend to more than you want of relationship misunderstandings. The Pisces lineup in your 8th house makes you want to be high and titillated and involved in sizzling, funny, high adrenaline type of activities, but it also could be a little stranger danger in that too. So don't think just because you're having fun and you're enjoying the ride or the high that you got to take it to maximum level, because that could be a problem. So it's stirring financial transformations in you. So Leo right now is on the page of wanting to level up and do self-improvement. Bravo to you, Leo. But don't kind of like make it look like it's just humor or joking and you're saying sarcastic or snide remarks to other people around you that are supposed to be your running buddies or your friends. Don't put down somebody else or criticize somebody else in order for you to gain attention in the room. Yeah, that's not going to work out for you well. So what you say now, Leo, must reflect your inner integrity. Otherwise, you're getting into the minus part of Leo, which it's that blown up ego and nobody's in the room but me and nobody can hold a candle to me. You don't want to be that Leo. You don't want to do that. Relationships for Virgo. So relationships are center stage now, Virgo, because you had that eclipse in mid-March with that full moon in your sign, that partial eclipse. And so relationships now come even stronger center stage for Virgo, especially those that have to do where you're looking at the value or the worth of it. So it could be, am I going to sell this piece of property for this? Am I going to negotiate on that contract? Do I want to buy that instead? Do I want to trade that in, liquidate that, and because I want to up level a purchase that I want to do? And so Virgo's in that little bit of that orbit of who's the salesman I'll choose? Do I trust them? Do we work well together? Who's the follow-up legality that I need to do? So there's an energy that's taking place around Virgo needing that mercurial discernment, and all those planets in Pisces certainly have people coming at you to either ask you for stuff, will you let it go, can I buy it? You know, I think that's too high. You could have some pressure, Virgo, of people saying, well, I've known your mommy and your daddy all your life. I can't believe you charged me that price for that. I don't know about you guys up north, but that goes on in the country a lot. People try to lowball you just because you had the same preacher or you were cousins or whatever that is. So it is a form of a manipulation, but I guess there's a different way. In the north, maybe they're more blunt. In the south, they try to guilt your ass and bring Jesus into it, or, you know, like, why wouldn't you do that? Your daddy would have done it. They've been dead like 20 years kind of a thing. So for Virgos right now, there's this balancing act, Libra, scales of justice. For Virgo, you have to make sure that it's also a win for you. Don't let people guilt you. Don't let people bring up painful memories when you were grieving, or, oh, I was there for you when your mama died. You know, so it's like, be careful that there's not a mental or psychological manipulation going on to try to poke at your vulnerability in that balance that's needed between what you receive versus what you give. And then you've got the North Node still in your 7th house of the significant other, the significant partnership that makes it real clear that there's some type of, am I investing more of who I am into this? You're going to be making some kind of decision, certainly with business. There's strong business matters at hand that probably have some emotional entangled threads into them. So I'll say it like this, Virgo, you need to choose commitment that aligns with your soul purpose, and your intuition is on board with it. Because when Mars goes into Leo, Virgo, on April 18th, and when Mars opposes Pluto, Virgo, when we're coming close to that new moon in Taurus, which gets into the mix as a square over the 27th of April, you need to be very well informed about who's got your back and who doesn't when it comes to the financial legal department. Do not let anybody guilt you or push you toward anything to do with what you still want to hang on to. But be willing, Aries, to look at yourself and say, am I only holding on to that thing? I never look at it. I never want it. I never need it. It just sits in the closet year after year. It sits in the garage. I never drive it. I never take care of it. Why are you maybe holding on to something? Is it an emotional, psychological, if you will, blanket or teddy bear? So that's kind of coming up for you to really look at, why do I still hold, what kind of value does that give me psychologically? It's given me some kind of comfort because I can't let it go. I don't want to sell it, and that's fine. Again, no judgment, no shame or blame. But when it starts to piggyback and it starts to get more and more, and you're buying new things and you're not dealing with the old things, I think it's time at least for you to have a conversation with yourself. And I'm telling you, don't shame or blame yourself, but be willing to open up the conversation of, what does that have a hold on me? Well, what is that hold? I need to look at that with some fresh eyes. Libra, oh boy, you're in the lunar spotlight, Libra. Yep, you're in the lunar spotlight. And just the Libras that I've been talking to, I'm concerned for you, Libra, that you're being manipulated or you're being overly driven by an external possibility or an external something or someone wanting you to do this, 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 and this, and you're not taking the time needed for you to go, how do I feel about that? Does that feel like that's good for me? Does that feel like that's the right thing to do? Does that sound like that's a promise floating up in the air? And is there some logic to that too? Because Libra wants to be engaged in the flying carpet of feelings and the intensity of emotions. They want to do that. They are natural people pleasers. Pisces and Libra can be empathic people pleasers. So the archetype that you need right now is Lady Justice. You need to have Themis or Lady Justice. You know, you need to go look up on the internet, what are the main stars in the constellation of Libra? There's the Scales of Justice, there's the Cross, and there's Lupus, the wolf. But the wolf has another Latin name that means it can be the victim. So for you, Libra, let me just get out of the way and say it as a intuitive clairvoyant here. I don't want you to fall into the pit of being a victim because of somebody else's high anxiety or drama. I said it. You've been forewarned. I hope you take my advice. So the focus for you, Libra, especially as Mars goes into Leo, is that you are able to avoid wounds to do with partnerships. If you want to avoid something, Libra, you want to avoid a confrontation, shut the drama down and don't get yourself addicted to someone else's misery or someone else's promises. As a Libra, you right now have to stay strong and say, would that be the best thing for me to do in this situation? And man, that seems like that's a whole lot of energy I got to do. I got to like change my life all the way around for them to say they'll be happy. And then in the future, they're going to be so good to me. I promise you I'll do this. Just let me do this right now. So it's kind of like a parent and a child relationship could be showing up in your intimacy of like, just give me my way. Let me do this. And then I won't throw a temper tantrum. Otherwise, you're going to lose me and I'm going to go pout and go in my room or I'll run away. So for you, Libra, in your intimate romantic life, I keep hearing Libra's focused on, I can't believe that girl stole from me. I can't believe we had a good time. We made love. You know, we had laughs. We had a good time. And then they just kicked me to the curb kind of a thing. And it's just like, I don't know what I did wrong. Well, probably being mistreated was the first of it. Sometimes you test people by saying, yeah, that doesn't work for me right now. But I'm not saying I'm close to it forever or in the immediate future. But for right now, yeah, that's not a match for me. If they blow up, if they gaslight you, if they reject you and they manipulate you, they want the thing to be done more than they want to be involved with you. And so for Libra, it's time for you to refine your spiritual practice. I want you to get serious about self-care and your daily rituals. Maybe it's time to upgrade your skin lotion. Maybe you need to, be doing some oil pulling with coconut oil and reinvigorate your gums or condition your hair, make your own natural deodorant. It's like you're letting go of illusions about how other people tell you need to use that deodorant, you just need to use that hair product. Your hairdresser isn't always in charge of what you choose to research and do for your own type of hair and your own type of skin. Your body loves you. Our body temples love us when we do things that nurture and enrich our body. And Libra is known for beautiful skin of all kinds of different cultures and races and ages. So Libra, this would be a good time. Self-care and self-nurturing could be that you decide to do a little mini internet course and YouTube type of thing about how to make my best natural deodorant, how to make natural toothpaste, how to do alternating all natural oils on my skin and my hair. That'd be a good way for you to feel nurtured and to start the process that you did it for you. Because Aries and Libra are these full moon stars. They needed to have a little more time and attention. Scorpio. This full moon is lighting up the part of you that Scorpio is all too comfortable with and oh so familiar with, the ability to get out of the spotlight, be in stealth mode, go into solitude, process some things out, do some meditation, some prayer work, some time away from the throngs of crowds or peoples and all that jigsaw puzzle of personalities. Scorpios need to take time with themselves, with their pets, and be alone so they recharge and reassess their soul batteries. They have to have it. They can't be in that loud rah all the time. It's just not who they are, and they certainly can manage a crisis, but then they need to disengage. It's like I'll go help and be a hero. I'll be a strong presence in that point of crisis or loss, and then it's like, now it's time for me. Scorpios can teach you how to do that. So the full moon is hitting the 12th house in the sign of Libra. Libra's the sign before Scorpio. So whatever's been kind of underneath the surface, hidden, some subconscious wishes, cravings or fears, and maybe the need to plan a trip so where it's kind of a retreat for you or just the people that you want to be around. The Sun Chiron in Aries is the 6th house. Once again, that's got to do with you're getting a little Aries irritated with the same old routine or things beginning to interrupt and interfere with the routine that you're the most comfortable with to recharge that soul battery we talked about. So what's happening is Venus stations direct from the 5th house of love and creativity. I do see a renewal of harmony and joy and music and dancing and artistic, more of like the creative savoir-faire, the joy of life type of thing. I see a turn for that. Saturn's involvement is positive to you. The Pisces planets are positive to you. They remind you to take responsibility in how and whom you love. Saturn is all about maturity. And so I feel, Scorpio, that's something that you're fine with being the mature one or the direct one or the one that can set the boundaries and let everybody else understand that you're not playing with your words. You say what you mean what you say. And I will be the first to tell you, an unevolved Scorpio, Machiavellian, manipulative, sociopathic Scorpio is like run far and never look back. I'll be the first to say that. But because Scorpios, once they decide that they're going to go into some kind of committed plan, they don't back off. They just don't do it. It's just like the Scorpion's like, I got pinchers and I got a stinger and I'm going in. So Sagittarius, this Libra moon also is very favorable for the Sagittarian fire. It's lighting up sociability. It's lighting up your house of friends and groups and goals and yearnings and aspirations and desires. However, with the sun in Chiron, some people you've been running with, some friendships may need to transform or end or dissolve or divorce. You may, especially if they're really lacking that Libra reciprocity. Venus and Saturn are joining forces, so the maturity and the leveling up is happening in your fourth house. So it may be, Sagittarius, that you stop getting kicked to the curb or being the black sheep of the family. You already know what that's about. I don't need to labor the point. It's time also to build a sanctuary of sorts, Sagittarius, that supports your soul time, your soul. Sitting with the word soul, playing music that energizes your soul, a meditation, going out in nature. Where's that sweet spot in nature for you? Maybe it's fishing. Maybe it's driving fast in a car all by yourself. So you're choosing the energy, and you're beginning to see the tribe. Spirit is going to show you. You may not have been a bloodline to that man or that woman, but Spirit's going to show you the value of those that get you, those that really see you, the tribe that's right there and supports your growth, even if you don't see them that often. Capricorn, you're another one that's in the strong spotlight of this full moon. This full moon in Libra, squares off with Capricorn, squares off with Cancer. That's mommy daddy issues, and it's opposing Aries, which is the creative, the rambunctious child, and Libra is the person that just wants to keep the peace in the household. So it's hitting at the 10th house, Capricorn. So it's your status, it's your visibility, it's where you are publicly with your commitments. Does your public life and your private life, that's where there's going to need to be the Libra balancing. Are you so caught up with work, or your partner is so bogged down with career and work right now that you feel like that your private life needs to have a little more attention? That could be done. That can be done. So whichever partner's got that work thing, kind of grabbing all their priority attention, you can be the one to cook them a meal. You can say to them, come on, I'm taking you out, and you can get right back into work when you get back. Capricorn relaxes when the duties and the work and the responsibilities are taken care of. You're not going to go well with the Capricorn if you try to take them away from a task that they know needs to be completed. It's time sensitive. You're going to have the better Capricorn friend and partner if you let them do Capricorn's slogan is business up front, party in the back. Now, when they cut loose, they cut loose. Just look at Kid Rock. So this Sun Chiron Aries will probably bring some type of repetitive family tension or an old emotional dynamic to the surface. It may rise up, but there's a new way, Aries. There's a new way to look at it. There's a new way to talk about it, and there's a new way to make a decision about, like the Shark Tank show. And for that reason, I'm out. That's you be you. I'm going to do me. So what you say now must last, though. You got to be committed to what decision you make, because that's going to be the boundary. Will you follow through? Will you stay with it? Both if you're wanting to self-improve as well as other people saying, oh, don't go to the gym today. Let's go out and just go to cocktail. No. I'm a Capricorn. I've got a discipline. I've got a regimen that I want to do, and you're not helping me. You're going against me. It's cross purposes. So let the Capricorn attend to the task that they deem to be valuable for their integrity and their security in their world. You don't mess with the earth sign security. Don't tell a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn how to deal with their financial security. You can suggest, you can teach them new things, but do not tell Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn what to do with their money, their investments. It has to be their idea. You're going to have to support them, or they're just not going to talk to you about it anymore. And they're going to get bougie with you. If you're an Aquarius, again, favorable. Aquarius is an air sign. Libra is an air sign. All these Pisces planets bunching up are saying to Aquarius, it's a new day and it's a new way dealing with your investments, where you're spending money, where you're saving money, how you're doing both of those. What used to give you a thrill that you bought into ain't doing it anymore. So there's something about a leveling up and a reset and a different kind of series of choices that Aquarius is going to be making as far as what used to be fun, what used to be a tension breaker, because this full moon's falling in your ninth house of beliefs. That used to work for me. Oh, doing that always relaxed me. Oh, doing that always made me laugh so hard. There's time for a comedy club, and there's time for you to go sit outside and meditate, or maybe go to the church of your choice. There's a time for you to get to where you can deal with your spirit, your mind, and the best aspects of who you are and what you came to do. It's higher knowledge. It's time, Aquarius, to integrate the philosophical ideals and choices with your actual boots on the ground life experiences. Venus and Saturn in the North Node in Pisces bring a really nice grounding to your core values. What is core for me? What's my bottom line? What ignites my self-worth? And a lot of times when we do a spontaneous tithe, we just go out of our way, no matter what our ups and downs are of our finances and our bill paying or hoping money comes in. Sometimes we break a pattern of being kind of stressed out and in angst over how a job or a monetary situation is going to go, just to say, you know what, I'm going to do an act of faith, Pisces. I'm going to go out and I'm just going to go tithe and bless somebody. I'm going to pick up somebody's check. I'm going to tip somebody that doesn't expect they're going to get tipped. And I'm really doing that for me, because even though they're getting a blessing and I don't have a string attached, it's good for me to break my monetary stress. It's good for me to stop that financial haunt of anxiety of what about this and what about that. It's good for me to go out there. You know, I'm going to do an act of faith. I'm going to go dare my ass to go out there. And even though I don't know where the money's coming from or what's going to happen, I'm going to go do a tithe. I promise you it works every time, but most people don't really like to do it on a regular basis. I did that, started that in my 30s, and it's been strong ever since. And you do it spontaneous, so nobody really knows that it's coming. And please don't expect applause for what you do. Just do it anonymously, like the old Secret Santa Claus kind of thing. It's not about getting any kind of putting a leash on them. It's about, I did it. It's good for my soul to do this. It's a tithe. Take it. Go. I'm done. I'm out. Mahalo. So for you, Aquarius, Mars trining the North Node coming from your sixth house is putting a spotlight on your daily actions and the things that you are wanting to get done each day. A little more, almost done, cross the finish line. Yeah, bang, now I'm going to something else. So your spiritual vision and your spiritual upgrading, your spiritual practice, how you feel in harmony with spirit and the heavenly, blessing the earthly, is that's what's going to bring you the deepest rewards right now. Pisces, oh my gosh, Pisces. But you and Aries, such a powerful year, exactly the way the signs are lining up right now. This Libra moon is powerful and very karmic. This full moon, it takes place in your eighth house. That's the afterlife. That's our ancestors. That's generational curses and blessings. That has to do with, you know, what is my soul longing for? What do I have an addiction? Do I always run and do that or over there when I just don't want to face something? The eighth house doesn't let us get away with what might kill us, and it doesn't let us get away with cheating or betraying or getting lost in that, you know, I'm going to go, I don't believe I can have a relationship, so I'm just going to create a fake identity and go on some Tinder or go on some porn site or something. It's really wanting you, Pisces, and I know this is incredibly personal, but Pisces, it's about you leveling up in your sensuality and how you let someone just touch you, how you touch someone else, the emotional fallout that you've had from the nuclear blast of other kinds of relationships. Some of that was because of your inability to move forward to Pisces, or your fear of, like, I've had such bad luck. I've had people cheat on me. I had a person in my marriage say they didn't even want to be with my kind of sex anymore, and they just went with somebody else. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I did wrong on that one. So I'm hearing a lot of that out of the Pisces clients that I've got right now, and they've had a spouse pass away, or they've all of a sudden lost something and they literally had to downsize and move and do with a lot less. So, and a lot of Pisces I know have finally had a surgical fix on something that was embarrassing them and make them feeling less than. So for Pisces, all of these signs and wonders that are around you, Venus, Saturn, Mercury, the North Node, all of these signs, who are you now? Who are you now? Aries is the present. The reason they call it a gift and a present is because the gift is always in the present, really being present with all that life is wanting to gift you, show you, help you break up with. So Mars is the trine of Mars and Cancer is supporting your brave vulnerability. Venus is exalted. It's going direct. It's calling you to fall in love with love and wisdom, vulnerability with strength. So the Pisces element, it's okay to be soft. I just want you to be a little stronger with yourself so you don't keep falling in the same emotional quicksand. You deserve better, but you know what? You got to know it, Pisces. I've got to get you to know that you're worth it and you deserve it. So I'd like you to say that in the mirror. I'm good enough, the old Saturday Night Live skit. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone, I'm worth it.
Amen to that.
Yeah, Pisces has really got to do that. Now, I will tell you, Pisces, you have a signature, a karmic, beautiful karmic blessing signature of really rarefied, rich people coming into your life, souls coming into earth temples, and you're meeting up with them. And I feel like that this is a gift. This is Spirit saying to you, can I show you physically and emotionally how not to focus on what didn't work out in your life, but by what I've literally brought into your life right now. I believe Pisces are in one of the best spots if they'll crack that shell and make it okay to be the third wing on the left side, third wing of the butterfly. You still get to fly. You still shed the cocoon, and you got to rise again. And you know what? The wing will heal.
Oh, our little Pisces out there.
Getting
a little love from
right.
Mary this time around.
Absolutely. Yeah, listen, Pisces have got the nodes right now. So, the thing that hurts the Pisces is I've had so many Pisces say to me, or Virgos say to me, your opposite sign, why does that keep happening to me? I really try my best. I really am kind. I do give, I do participate, I do listen. And I feel like that, it's taken for granted because the Pisces hasn't learned to love themselves enough to know that you manifested this. Pisces is also the sign of miracles manifesting, holy healings and love beyond just the physical body's compulsing. Pisces is about, I know you. I know you. I remember you. We will never be apart again because it took all of that crap to finally get here, and I am going to take the risk. I'm committed to the ride because I've longed for this kind of love forever, and it's here again. We must have known each other before. Thank God we connected again, and I promise you I'm not going to be the one to throw the arrow and hurt anything to do with it.
Yeah. Well, to everyone out there, thank you, Mary, for running down the full moon in Libra. Remember, everyone, that your relationships are getting a little bit of a wake up call right now. It's a needed catalyst so that you no longer avoid what can no longer be avoided. And it's kind of a reckoning, but it's where the mirror shatters. And remember, your relationships are absolutely mirrors of yourself. And so this is a really great opportunity to really see your role in your relationships and how it's either serving or not serving, and vice versa. And seeing if this is a point of evolution or a point of expiration. Honestly, either way, it's going to be a good thing in the end of it all. So allow yourself to either move forward or move on. I think it's going to be a really powerful Libra full moon here as we move into the warmer weather here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know I am enjoying beautiful weather here in Colorado. We are going to have a mid-80s day this weekend. I am so excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I might even crack my paddleboard out and get on the water just because I love to do that. I love to be one of the first.
Pisces. Yeah, Pisces in the water. Yeah. It's embryonic. It's baptismal and it's embryonic. We're talking about fire and holy smoke, but you know what? Take that ritual bath. Get on that paddleboard. Let the water be your friend as well. Clean things. Even if you're cleaning and upgrading, getting your hands in the water, mopping and cleaning and hosing and invigorating the garden, getting on the paddleboard, surfing, whatever it is. But when you take your bath or your shower, let it be a holy communion.
Amen. And on that note, to everyone, there are 3 tickets left to come to the 3-day 180 retreat, which is next month It is May 15th. So we are coming up to almost 30 days away. For all of you who are coming, you've received the email to set up your one-to-ones with me and our pre-retreat meetup, which we always do before each retreat. So if you have been sitting on the fence, delaying, waiting, do not wait or delay anymore. Book your ticket, get your butt to Colorado. We want to see you at the 3-day 180 retreat for one of the most transformative events of your life. We've got some incredible things planned for you. There's going to be some dancing mushrooms spreading around in the love. So expect a good time. And on that note too, don't forget you can always book a session with Mary, as we mentioned earlier. All of her details to book with her are below. And if you are getting this right around the time that this is airing, and you have not been involved in the healing exit strategy, you may want to check that out, because you're getting secret access to something that I created behind the scenes for the last 6 weeks to 2 months. And it's probably my most proudest creation I have ever released. And that is right now only being offered to those who are inside the healing exit strategy, which, by the way, ends your entire healing circle looping, processing over and over, looking at the same wound, same situation, same relationship problems. Now I tell you how to end it in that course. Okay. And it's super cheap. It's only $33. So if you haven't jumped in, I highly do. And if you do, you will see what I'm talking about. So, on that note, Mary, thank you so much for just gracing us with your divine cosmic queen energy that is you, and that Scorpio vibe that you always bring us. And to the audience, we love you. We will be back again next time for the full moon in Scorpio, one of our favorite full moons here on the show. And on that note, be level-headed as much as you can during this full moon. Do not let your emotions erupt if you can avoid it. There will be a lot of clarity, I believe, that comes after this full moon. So allow for everything to settle in once the dust is settling from the catalyst, the explosion that happens. And I think a lot of relationships will be made better for it. And those of you who are finding the expiration on those relationships, you're opening the door to better ones coming in. So keep that in mind. Mary, thanks again for being on the show.